Good morning, everyone. I hope that everyone is doing okay today, and I hope that you are ready for the lesson for today. I know that graduation is fast approaching and you're getting excited enrolling or choosing your course in college. But before we proceed to that, before you get excited with that, I want you to know that it is essential that you have to know well this subject matter in research. Now, let's get ready and let's start our lesson for today. The lesson for today is entitled Instrumentation and Data Collection. We have established in quarter one, that research starts with a problem. And the word problem in research means there is an absence of data or there is a missing data. So when you say research problem, there's an absence of data. And through that absence of data, from there, you're going to write or you can write your research title. So therefore, in your research title, you are looking for something. There is a missing data. So in order for you to finish your research, you must be able to gather that data. You must be able to find that data. Under chapter 1, statement of the problem, you're going to enumerate, identify all the problems or all the needed data or missing data for you to be able to identify these things that you have to research about. So statement of the problem, okay? Now, after listing down the different problems or data that you need, by the time you reach chapter 3, you have to write your research questionnaire or what we call instrument, okay? There are many forms of instrument in research, okay? When you say instrument, this is the data gathering tool. When you say instrument, this is the data gathering tool. In quantitative research, this is often referring to your research questionnaire, okay? So instrument, that is the data gathering tool, okay? When you say instrumentation, okay, this is the process. It's a process, okay? So we put here instrumentation. Instrumentation is the process of writing, crafting, creating, developing, or even adopting a questionnaire. Let's say a data gathering tool. A data gathering tool. So instrumentation is the process of writing, crafting, creating, developing, or even adopting a data gathering tool. Okay? Because there are two ways to create or to have an instrument or data gathering tool. Number one is you do your own, you write your own, you develop your own. And number two is you can adopt already an existing questionnaire provided that there is already an existing similar study or the same study with yours. You can adopt the research questionnaire actually, so long as it is permitted by the original authors. But if there is no existing questionnaire, then you have to develop your own questionnaire. And this is the process of instrumentation. Now, I'm going to discuss or I'm going to give you some guidelines or tips during the process of instrumentation. Now, let's proceed. Tips during the instrumentation process. Okay? Or during the writing of your instrument. Okay? When writing your instrument, okay, you don't have to write or you do not just write questions, okay? You do not just write questions because you think it is needed, because you think it has to be there, you think it is relevant. No, okay? Each question must have a basis, okay? Or must be supported by a particular related literature. Each question must be supported by a particular related literature. You do not just write a question because you think it must be there, you feel it must be there. No, there must be a particular literature that is supporting your claim why such question is necessary to be written, to be included in your research questionnaire, okay? It must have a basis. Now, we proceed with number 2, okay? You cannot just write a question because it is relevant or it is related, okay? Being relevant to the title is not enough. The question is not enough if it's only relevant to the title. Aside from being relevant or related, it must have a purpose, okay? Each question must have a purpose or contribution to answer, to help in completing the data needed or stated in the statement of the problem. Okay, let me read to you that again. Each question must have a purpose or contribution to answer, to help in completing the data needed or stated in the statement of the problem. So you do not just write a question because it is related to your topic, because it is relevant to your topic, but you write a question if it's only needed and if this will help you answer a particular question in the statement of the problem. That's the only time you could write a question. And of course, at the same time, it should also be supported by a particular related literature. So, in a summary, you do not just write a question in your questionnaire, okay? Now, tip number 3. After writing your questionnaires, okay, the questionnaires or the questionnaire has to be validated. Okay. How is validation being done? That is the next question, right? You have written your questionnaire. There are bases, okay? But the third one is the questionnaire has to be validated. How is that? How it's going to happen, okay? When you say the questionnaire has to be validated, then we need a team of experts, okay, to validate the questionnaire, okay? A team of validators is needed to do the validation. Okay? It is actually composed of 3, okay? Number 1, or letter A, one of the members must be specialists or specialize in the field or specialize in your topic, okay? Specialize in the field. Okay, specialize in the field of your topic, of your research topic. Another one who is qualified to be one of the validators would be an statistician, okay? An statistician. And the third one to be qualified as one of the validators would be a fellow researcher, or preferably someone who is inclined into research and someone who has a higher position, okay? Who has a higher designation to the researcher. So these are the three recommended people who can be part of your validation team, okay? Specialized in the field of your research topic, someone who is specialized in the field of your research topic. Number two, for the second person, a statistician. Number three, a fellow researcher or someone who has designation, who has a higher designation, okay? Who has a higher designation to the researcher. Who has a higher designation than the researcher, okay? So what do they do, okay? I'm going to show you a validating tool that they're going to use, okay? Sometimes they can have their own validating tool. Sometimes a school has already that. But sometimes the validators will have to do that. You may also want to provide, but it's not advisable. It may be biased already, okay? Because you are the one who have written the questionnaire. So it will come from them, the validation tool, okay? Now I have an example here from Davao Institute for Educational Research Development and Consultancy, a sample validation sheet, okay? Now, we have here some 7 criteria, okay? Number 1 is your questionnaire would be checked against, number 1, clarity and directions of items regarding the language, structure, vocabulary level. Number 2, the presentation and organization of your questionnaire. Number 3, suitability of your questions, okay? Are the questions suited? Are the questions relevant enough to your statement of the problem? Do they have purpose? Number 4, are your questions, okay, or is your questionnaire adequate enough to be able to find the missing data stated in your research title? Remember, you have to find a missing data, okay? Number 5, and that's correct. Through questionnaire, would you be able to find the missing data? Attainment of purpose. Number 6, objective. Okay? Hindi ba bias yung mga katanungan? And number 7, okay, scale and evaluation rating. Okay? Tama ba yung ginamit mong scale? Kung Likert scale yan or kung anong scale yan, is it suited? Okay? So these are some criteria where you're going to check your questionnaire, okay? You can use this already, okay? To check against your questionnaire before it would be validated by the experts. So we have here 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, okay? Excellent, very good, good, fair, and poor, okay? How do you pass the validation tool? You must have, okay? The questionnaire must have at least 2.6 mean average, and that is good, okay? That will fall under good. 2.6 mean average, meaning to say you have passed the validation process. So if you have 2.6, your questionnaire is concluded to be valid. Now you will have, I'll give you time to do this one. I want you to open your questionnaire. I want you to have your questionnaire beside you. And I want you to check it and score it against these criteria, against these 7 criteria, okay? And try to score it objectively, honestly, if your questionnaire would pass this validation tool, this sample validation tool, okay? I'll give you 5 minutes or 10 minutes for that. Okay. So after doing such validation process, but of course you're not going to validate your questionnaire by yourself. Okay, that is only an exercise for you to check against that validation tool. A team of experts will have to validate your questionnaire. So these are the three tips or guidelines during the instrumentation process. Now we proceed to the data collection process, okay? The data collection process is also important, okay? Let's say your questionnaire is valid, but the way you administer, the way you gather, the way you distribute your questionnaire is not really valid, okay? It could be also invalid. Therefore, it would also have an invalid rating or invalid results. So you must also observe these tips and guidelines during the data collection process, okay? I'm going to give you the first tip. Now first, let us first define data collection. Of course, data collection process, okay, or data collection is the process, okay, of collecting or gathering data. That's simple, okay? Now, let's proceed to the tips. Tips during the data collection process, or tips during the data collection. Number one is you have to, the researcher, okay, has to pre-float your questionnaire. The researcher has to pre-float the questionnaire. Okay? When we say pre-float, you're just going to use a few of your questionnaires, okay? A few pieces of your questionnaire, and distribute it to some of your respondents or other people who have similarities to your respondents, and then let them use your questionnaire, let them answer it. During the process, you're going to observe these respondents. If they have some questions like words that are difficult to understand, statements or questions that are difficult to comprehend, then you have to take note of this. And then after the pre-floating, after all those notations that you have written down, you're going to improve again your questionnaire, okay? And you have to let your validators know about this, okay, before proceeding to the actual floating or gathering of data. Now, if the changes has been made, there are no longer lapses on your questionnaire, it is already easy to understand, then it's about time for you to float your questionnaire. But before you float your questionnaire again, you have to pre-float, integrate the corrections or improvement, and number two, during the pre-floating, before you start the distribution, you have to check, the researcher has to check if he or she is with the right respondents. Okay, baka hindi naman sila pala yung respondents mo. Okay, so the researcher has to check if he or she is with the right respondents. If there's a list of names, then he or she has to check if that is the correct or right person to answer the questionnaire. Okay? Now, the third one is during the collecting process or during the answering process or answering stage, okay, the researcher has to be present. Some researcher would just ask the teacher in charge or someone in charge there to do the floating. And that is not advisable, okay? That would also actually give an invalid result, okay? You as a researcher has to be there so that if there will be any question that would arise, the researcher would be able to answer that question to the respondents and make it more clear to the respondents and make it more, the answer of the respondents would be more valid rather than trying to guess what would he or she would write on the questionnaire. Okay? So the researcher, you, has to be there in order for the respondents to be guided if they have some clarifications. Okay? So that is a very important tip. The researcher has to be present. Okay? Now, the fourth one is, of course, after the respondents have already answered the questionnaire, okay, the researcher has to check, okay, has to check if there are some missed items, okay. You know, when an item is missed in the questionnaire, that questionnaire becomes invalid, okay. So to avoid, okay, having a lot of invalid questionnaires, you as a researcher has to check if all questions were answered by the respondents, okay. Now, depending on your statistician on how it should be computed, it would be advisable to avoid these circumstances that some items were not answered. However, the question is, what if someone refuses to answer a particular item? Could you require him, okay? Could you ask him to answer that particular item? Could you require him to answer all of the items if he or she refuses to answer a particular item or question? The answer is no. You cannot force someone to answer an item that he doesn't or she doesn't want to answer. So you cannot force someone to do that. Okay? You just accept the paper, or you just have to collect the questionnaire, okay, and discuss about that to your advisor or to your statistician. Okay? And of course, you have to thank your respondents, okay, because of their shared or given time. Okay, so these are the tips. This is the process of instrumentation and data collection. Now let's go over instrumentation, the process of writing or developing or adopting a data gathering tool. We have 3 tips here. Each question must be supported by a literature. Each question must have a purpose, okay, to help in answering the questions in the statement of the problem. Number 3, your questionnaire has to be validated. You cannot float a questionnaire that is not validated, okay? Meaning to say your results is also invalid. A team of validators is usually composed of the 3 recommended people, someone who is specialized in that field or in that topic. Number 2, a statistician is needed. And number 3, a fellow research teacher or someone who has a higher designation than the researcher is advised to be also a part of your validation tool. In order to pass the validation team, or in order for you to have a questionnaire that is valid, you must have a passing 2.6 mean, okay? 2.6 score. 2.6 mean score in the validation tool that was composed by your team of experts or that was adopted by your validators, okay? Now, the second part would be data collection or the process of collecting or gathering data. Here are the tips. Your questionnaire has to be pre-floated. Number 2, you must check if you have the right respondents. Number 3, the researcher, you must be there. You must be present. Number 4, you have to check if there are some missed items. And you let the respondent answer the missed items, okay? Except that, if he or she refuses to, you cannot force him or her to answer that particular item. And of course, you have to thank your respondents, okay? Now, let's have some true or false here to check if you have understand well your lesson for today. Now, I'm going to write here 5 true or false question. You just have to answer me, okay? if it's true or not. Now let's start with, okay, let me write some title, true or false. Okay, number 1. Okay, first one, instrument, I'm sorry, okay, instrument is also refers to the data gathering tool. Instrument also refers to the data gathering tool. Is that true or false? Instrument also refers to the data gathering tool. Are they the same? Yes, they are the same. So this statement is true. Number 2, a researcher, okay? A researcher may adopt a questionnaire. A researcher may adopt a questionnaire. Can a researcher adopt a questionnaire? Yes or no? True or false? Yes, the answer is true. You may adopt a questionnaire provided that it is similar to your topic. Okay, provided that it is looking for the same thing as stated in your statement of the problem, provided that you have been permitted by the original authors of the questionnaire. So you may adopt a questionnaire, okay? That's true. Number 3 is during the collection process, a researcher may handle that responsibility to an authority, to someone who is in charge in the area. Okay, during the collection process, a researcher may handle that responsibility to someone who is in charge in the area. Can someone do that for you? Okay, of course you will be having a lot of, you have to do a lot of things yet. Can you handle the questionnaire to someone who is in charge in that area, like someone who is working there? The answer is yes, correct. It is false. That cannot be. That may invalidate the results of your questionnaire. Okay? That may invalidate the data that you have gathered. So, number 4 question, okay? All questionnaires, okay? Okay, questionnaires has to be validated. True or false? If you could remember my lecture, yes, the answer is true. Questionnaire has to be validated. Number 5, during the collection process, okay, the researcher has to have a permission, okay, to conduct his or her research. Is that necessary? The researcher has to have a permission to conduct his or her research. Yes, it is necessary. So the answer is true. Okay? So that's a very good thing. You're able to answer the true or false very well. Now we will proceed to let's have a quiz, okay? I have prepared already a quiz here. I have 5 questions only. Now I want you to answer this one. Okay, let's have this quiz number 1 for this lesson. In which chapter can you find the instrumentation? Okay. Which chapter? We have 5 chapters, okay? But that also that depends on other institutions. They have 4. But here, we're using the 5-1. 5-chapter thesis. Okay? So where is the instrumentation? Okay? Is it in the introduction, RRL, research methodology, results and discussions? Yes, that is correct. That is under research methodology. You can find instrumentation in chapter 3, research methodology. Okay, results and discussion is chapter 4. Number 2, what does pre-floating of questionnaires mean? Second time of gathering data. Is that second time? A trial or test distribution to identify possible problems of the questionnaire. Or letter C, checking of questionnaire by qualified validators. And number 3, writing stage of the questionnaire. What's the answer? Okay, the answer is letter B, a trial or test distribution to identify possible problems of the questionnaire. Checking of questionnaire is validation stage, okay? Writing stage, second time of gathering data using questionnaire. Okay. So the answer when you say pre-floating is letter B, a trial or test distribution. How about the third question? Okay. Data gathering tool or the instrument must be based on conceptual framework, rationale and background of the study, research paradigm, statement of the problem. Okay. Data gathering tool, saan naka-base? Okay. What does it answer? Okay, correct. It answers the questions in the statement of the problem. So they are related to each other. The data gathering tool and the statement of the problem. What about number 4? Who among the following may not be part of the validating team? Researcher, statistician, field specialist, respondents, or respondent. Yes, that's correct. Respondent. Okay. They are not part of the validating team. Okay. It's only these 3 can be part of the validating team. Okay. Or may be part of the validating team. And the last question, which of the following sentences is not true? You must check the questionnaires upon submission of the respondent. You must check who your respondents are. You must require a respondent who refuses to answer an item. You must thank your questionnaire. Yes, that is correct. You must require a respondent who refuses to answer an item. But you cannot force him to answer it, okay? You just ask him if he could answer the item, okay? Not really require, no? You must ask a respondent which of the following sentences is not true, okay? I think this is correct. Not true, okay? You must require a respondent who refuses to answer an item. That is not true. This is correct. You must require a respondent who refuses to answer an item. Well, that is not true. Okay, that ends our lesson. I hope you have a very good day today. And I hope everyone is ready for our next lesson. I want you to have a great day ahead. And I want to say thank you for listening to my lecture, okay? Good day, everyone. And thank you.